Hello and welcome to Vedic Astrology with Renu. In this video, I'm going to show you how our current models of knowledge overlap with the ancient knowledge of Vedic astrology. Vedic astrology is much more than just predicting timing of events. Its true physical, mental, and spiritual benefits are revealed when it is used primarily as a tool for self-knowledge and self-discovery. When used in this way, there's really no other modality that can match the speed at which we can gain inner guidance and inner empowerment. This model is empowering and puts the authorship of our life's journey in our hands, rather than the stars alone. Most importantly, this can help us develop skills and dedication that we will need to become the hero of our life's journey. So let's begin our journey. A thought or a desire appears in our head. Where does it come from? Can we be sure that it belongs to us? Are we alone in our head? Are we truly captains of our own ship? Or are there forces beyond our control steering this ship? Who is this thinker, I, me, or self, that we identify with? And why is yoga's main goal to be liberated from this limited aspect of the personality? Let's look briefly first at where 21st century science stands on this question. A few years ago, Professor Kerry Ressler, a neurobiologist and psychiatrist at Emory University in Atlanta, became interested in intergenerational trauma. Ressler and his colleague Brian Diaz set up an experiment to expose male and female mice with the scent of cherry blossom while giving the mice small electric shocks. Eventually, as expected, the mice learned to associate the pain of the shocks with the smell and began shaking with fear just with the smell alone. What was most unexpected was the discovery that up to 4 generations of the offspring of these mice, even those conceived through in vitro fertilization, were born sensitive to the cherry blossom smell and demonstrated fear in the presence of the smell. Now, this was not some random study. This study was published in the most prestigious scientific journal, Nature Neuroscience, in 2013. The revelations of this study had the scientists scratching their heads. Brian Diaz noted, "The overwhelming response has been, wow, but how the hell is this happening?" In the Vedic culture, it is said that we inherit our consciousness from our ancestors. Therefore, there's a lot of emphasis on honoring the elders in the family, as well as those who have passed on. For thousands of years in Vedic culture, worship and veneration of the family lineage played an important role in spiritual practice. Interestingly, the Vedic texts recommend that at least 3 generations be honored. In Sanskrit, these inherited psychological imprints are called samskara, which are the accumulated experiences from past and present life, ancestral memories, and our cultural heritage that are deeply rooted in our psyche. Positive samskaras lift us up, and negative samskara are the reason for much of our suffering, as well as the collective suffering of society. In fact, you could say that the whole system of the Vedic yogic culture in India, as it has evolved over thousands of years, which includes spiritual practices such as yoga, mantra, meditation, prayer, Vedic astrology, and lifestyle practices like Ayurveda, as well as the prescribed social and cultural norms and rituals, that these were all designed to aid in the transformation and transcendence of our negative samskara. The Sanskrit word for Vedic astrology is Jyotish, which means to illuminate or shine a light upon. So you could say that the Vedic horoscope illuminates our samskara, or the physical, mental, and spiritual consciousness of our family, ancestors, and culture that we inherited. Our past life memories that are influencing us in this life are also embedded here. Ancestral fears, such as those carried by the cherry blossom mice, will show up in the horoscope, and they'll surface in more extreme ways during certain planetary periods. It is these strongly entrenched tendencies that make certain events potentially fated to occur, and make Vedic astrology such an amazing predictive tool. The actions that we must perform as a result of our samskara is what's called karma. Karma in Sanskrit means what I must do. So in that sense, the word karma is often used interchangeably with duty and obligation, because performing action, burden, or karma that we have no choice but to endure without feeling like a victim is probably the most significant spiritual message of the yogic Vedic system of knowledge. While the concepts of samskara and karma are very deeply rooted in the Indian culture, in the West, they're often seen with a little suspicion or sometimes misunderstood. However, much of what we are talking about here is not exclusive to the Vedic culture. Let's look at the intellectual giants of the 20th century like Freud, Jung, and Joseph Campbell, who've had a tremendous amount of influence on our culture. They also theorized that we are neither completely transparent to ourselves nor alone in our head. They suggested that our perceptions, actions, and thoughts are not always voluntary, but rather they may be the result of the workings of the unconscious mind, which accesses stored personal experiences and memories, especially from our childhood. They also brought to light the influence of the collective unconscious, which includes memories and impulses that may not belong to us, much like the mice in the experiment. Jung and Campbell, studying mythology, comparative literature, and astrology, they saw a similarity of narrative shared by cultures across the world and over thousands and thousands of years. This Jung and Campbell described as being part of the collective unconscious, or timeless truths, which serve as a template to assist us in our psychological maturation. Jung suggested that when these collective unconscious contents of the personality are integrated into the conscious personality, then and only then a true personality can emerge. Because samskara, or the unconscious, reflects our deeply entrenched tendencies that cannot be easily uprooted, we must be careful not to look for quick, easy solutions to our predicaments. Samskaras are not just our thoughts, but rather they are the thinker itself. In the thinker, they are the one who thinks. In other words, samskara run so deep in our mind that they may just be the very spirit and essence of what we consider to be me. It's here that we must wrap our mind around the blurry lines between free will and destiny. Joseph Campbell coined the term monomyth, the common template for a broad spectrum of stories throughout cultures and history. He called this universal myth the hero's journey and structured it as a circle or a cycle divided into 3 phases: departure, initiation, and return, with several substages. Joseph Campbell explained the power of the myth as, "It would not be too much to say that myth is the secret opening through which the inexhaustible energies of the cosmos pour into human cultural manifestation." Jung was also very interested in the power of story and myth, and he suggested that the reason for all the suffering in the world is that people are not able to tell their stories. Kierkegaard, the famous Danish theologian, poet, and philosopher, he also saw the power and weight of our history, and he said, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forward." What Jung called psychological maturation, so our true personality can emerge, or what yoga philosophy calls transcending and transmuting our limited personality, is a challenging and difficult hero's journey. If you take your favorite modern myths like Star Wars, Harry Potter, or Lord of the Rings, these are stories depicting the difficult journeys that we must all undertake to work through our samskara. We cannot bury them, avoid them, or escape them. We must take them head on. Otherwise, we risk turning our negative samskara into what Jung referred to as our shadow, which he described as part of our psyche that an individual would rather not acknowledge, or the denied parts of the self. Myths and stories across cultures reveal the yearnings, fears, aspirations, and struggles common to every individual. They also provide the roadmap for ways out of our predicament. The dragons and the villains the heroes confront in stories are our very own difficult samskaras that result in angst, bullies, health problems, failed relationships, and unfulfilled desires. On his journey, the hero also encounters many guides, mentors, and supernatural aids to lift him up. These are our positive samskara. From the astrological perspective, the friends and foes the hero encounters show the condition of the planets in our horoscope. It should come as no surprise that the hero's journey monomyth is also present across cultures in the ancient science of astrology. The long and difficult but most rewarding journey we all must take is that of the cyclical zodiac, Aries through Pisces, and the houses 1 through 12, which is the process of evolution inherent in nature. The planets show us the skills the hero will need to acquire and perfect along the way. The planetary periods or dasha system of Vedic astrology gives us the roadmap of how our unique story will unfold. Now, in the monomyth, like most healing modalities, a sequence of stages such as discovery, healing, and transformation is suggested. In real life, though, healing does not come in neat stages. It's messy, disordered, and complicated. We may stay in one stage for decades, skip some stages completely, or in times of emergency, we might go through all the stages in a matter of days, weeks, or even minutes. All of us will go through numerous hero's journeys in a lifetime. Furthermore, each of us will have our own distinct rhythm in how our life story will unfold. Having a deep and unbiased understanding of our story or our myth can help us to embrace this rhythm and acknowledge our unique path to self-discovery, our unique hero's journey. In future videos, we're going to learn more about Vedic astrology using the hero's journey template and how this sheds a light on your horoscope. Thank you and namaste.